This is the Seller Process Podcast, where we talk about the best systems, processes, and SOPs for your Amazon business so that you can regain control of your time, build up your team, and scale your e-com empire.
Hello, entrepreneurs. If you are feeling you are flying blind when it comes to PPC analytics, and you're looking for a better system to take control of your metrics in order to leverage the true power of your ad campaigns, then this episode is for you. Our guest today will share with us the method he uses in his agency to keep track of metrics, analyze them, and make informative decisions based on a systematic approach. We're joined today by Mina Elias, a multiple seven-figure seller in the supplement industry, investor, Amazon PPC expert, and founder of the PPC University. He excels at developing cutting-edge supplements for different target audiences and combined his passions for supplement, his background in chemical engineering and chemistry, and his expertise in PPC to crush the competition on Amazon. His goal is to disrupt the supplement industry and make a significant positive impact by cleaning up the market and giving consumers the supplements they deserve. Welcome, Mina. Thank you for joining again. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me again.
Awesome. So guys, you may remember Mina for a past episode we did together where we discussed about the PPC campaigns that you should structure when you launch a new product. So now we want to take this a step further and, talk about the metrics and the analytics of PPC, so what we should do after we set up those campaigns, how we keep track of the performance of the campaigns. All right. So, Mina, my first question for you would be what are the main metrics that we need to track to have control over our PPC efforts?
Yeah. So I'm glad that you asked me this because the whole reason that this came about is essentially, initially, I was very deep into the PPC of my own company, right? And every day I was spending hours and hours, and that's how I got so good. So I kind of understood everything that was going on. But as I had a second supplement brand and a third supplement brand. And then I started helping other supplement brands and other brands. And, we started the agency Trivium Group. And, we've been helping a lot of people. I couldn't jump into the campaign managers and look so deeply at what's going on because it's incredibly time consuming. And so I said, how can I create this summary of everything that's happening? Like a 360-degree view of my business that I can look at a snapshot and understand what's going on. So I came up with this analytics template. And basically the main metrics that I'm tracking, if we really look and understand what's the point of PPC, what's the true purpose of PPC, it's one thing. It's to bring more people into the listing. PPC can't make you convert, right? Now, of course, if you're selling like a shoe rack and then you do a PPC campaign for shoes, and if you do a PPC campaign for shoe rack with lights or something like that, then if you do shoes, it's going to be horrible, right? It's not going to work out. So yeah, there is a level of relevancy of the ad, but the main purpose of the ad, of any ad anywhere, is to just bring people's attention to come and to look at that listing. It's not necessarily to convert, because the conversion happens that the person looks at the listing and decides it has good reviews, it has a good price, there's no other competitors out there that are better. So when I'm looking at metrics, I'm looking at PPC spend, and I'm looking at both PPC sales and organic sales. But then the main one that I'm looking at is sessions. Now, I'll give you the full kind of the full analytics sheet. It's PPC spend, PPC sales, total sales, sessions and units, click-through rate and conversion rate, cost per session, cost per click, and then I'll have the sale price of the product, the fees, the cost of goods, and then the net profit. And then I'll also have a column for cost per acquisition. And I'll break it down. So the reason that I have PPC spend and sessions is obviously I want to look at the PPC spend and see that when I move my PPC spend up, my sessions are going up. If they're not, I'm going to take a look at my click-through rate. If I'm spending more money and my click-through rate is low, it probably means that the ads that I'm launching, people are not really interested in looking at it. And you can actually track that back one step further, and you can start tracking impressions. So if you can track PPC, you can look at PPC spend, you can look at your marketing effort, and you can look at impressions. If your impressions are going up, your clicks aren't going up, you have an issue on the click-through rate side. So people are seeing your listing amongst other listings, and then there's an issue there. And then from there, you're getting clicks into the listing, and those, a portion of them are sessions. So the difference between clicks and sessions. Sessions is the unique Amazon accounts that are visiting the listing. Clicks are if someone clicked on an ad. So I could technically click on 3 or 4 of your ads. If I type in, the seller process, and then I find your brand name, I click on it. And then I type in like systems and processes, and then I find your name and I click on it. So there you go. I just click twice and it's the same session. Now, some people have this argument going on that sessions are only organic and not paid. I disagree, and I'll tell you why. This is my opinion. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I have to get better answers from Amazon. But when I launch a product with 0 reviews, with nothing, with 0 organic presence, and from day one, I turn on PPC. From day one, I turn on auto campaigns and broad and phrase campaigns, and immediately we get sessions. So how are the sessions only organic if I'm getting a bunch of sessions when it's day 0, when you have 0 organic rank? There's no way I ranked organically that fast. And I checked, I didn't rank organically that fast. So that's why I believe sessions is a true indicator of the total number of people coming into your listing. And we see it clear as day. And I'll tell you why, because it'll be one week, I'll spend $100, and then the next week I'll spend $200. So I increased my spend by 100%. And I'll look at my sessions. My sessions went from 150 to, let's say, 250. They went up by like maybe 75%. And I'll say, look at that direct proportion. And then I'll say, let's cut down the ads. Let's cut down the spending. We want to get cleaner. So I'll cut down the spending. I'll notice that the sessions go down. So, to summarize this, the whole purpose of the ads is just to bring people into the listing. And then the secondary part of that is you want to bring them at the cheapest price possible. And there's 2 pieces to it. So that's why I'm also tracking cost per session. If I'm spending it's an equation, right? Amazon is a simple equation. You have your number of sessions times your cost per session, and then times 1 divided by your conversion rate. So let's say your conversion rate is 10. That means you need 10 sessions for 1 conversion. If your cost per session is $1, that means you need $10 to make 1 conversion. If you're selling a $15 product, you're going to lose money. If you're selling a $40 product and you have, $20 in profit, you're going to make money. You're going to make $10 profit per unit. So that's the simple equation. And so on one end, we're trying to bring more sessions into the listing. On the second end, we're trying to lower the cost per session as much as possible. And you do that by optimizing your ads, adding negatives where like spending money and not making any sales, lowering the bids for things that have very high ACOS. If again, there's a keyword with clicks and no sales, you can kind of lower the bid. If you're showing up top of search first page and the placement report says that your ROAS is bad, removing that bid by placement adjustment, things like that. And then the second part of it to drop your cost per session is to rank organically. Because if you use PPC, you can do this as very, very simple practice. Pick one keyword, let's say 2,000 searches a month, that you're on position, let's say 60 or 70. So go Helium 10, do a Cerebro, reverse ASIN lookup on your ASIN, find a keyword, just put the range 1,000 to 3,000 searches a month, and that your position is, let's say, between 50 and 80. Pick a keyword that is relevant to you, track it in Helium 10 keyword tracker, and then go and launch 3 campaigns, 1 broad, 1 phrase, 1 exact, single keyword campaigns, budget of $200, $300, go on the top limit of the bid range, suggested bid range. I would say go a little bit higher. And then you can also do sponsored video that way. You can also launch sponsored video. I wouldn't recommend headline search ads, but anyways, so you have the 3 or 4 different ad types, and notice as you get conversions, even if they're not profitable, even if your ACOS is 150%, you will notice that your organic rank starts going up, and you can test this so you can see it. But that's the second part to it, is as you rank organically and you turn off the PPC, if you stay there, you're now bringing in sessions for free. And because cost per session, it's cost PPC spend divided by sessions, and sessions is the denominator. As soon as you start bringing in more sessions at no cost, because it's organic, the cost per session starts going down. And so that starts benefiting that equation. And so to me, when I'm looking at my ads, I'm constantly monitoring how is my reaction to my PPC spend to my sessions, what is my cost per session, and then what is my conversion rate and click-through rate. If my conversion rate is 2%, then I need 20 people or 50 people, to make one conversion. If my conversion rate is 35% or 33%, I only need 3 people to make one conversion. So I'm playing on both sides of that equation, and it gives me a very clear indication of what's going on per product in each of my accounts.
Okay. Sounds great. Yeah. So there's lots of information there. So I'd like to take it a step back a little bit and, let people know, first of all, that, all the metrics that you just mentioned, these are part of a spreadsheet, the analytics spreadsheet that Mina is sharing with us, which you guys can find in the show notes at thesellerprocess.com. You find this episode and you will find the link to that, or in the description of the YouTube video. Okay, so you can go download this spreadsheet, which is the one that we're discussing about, and Mina is using in his agency basically to track these metrics. All right, so Mina, what is the process of using this spreadsheet? Like, do you fill that up every how often do you fill that up, right? And then what do you do when, how do you analyze the numbers that you see in this spreadsheet?
Perfect. So every day we fill it up, and it really will take you 10 or 15, even if you have 5 or 6 ASINs, or if you have 10 ASINs. If you have 10 ASINs, you should probably have an employee VA by now, and it'll take them no longer than 20 or 30 minutes. But it is so worth it, right? Because you get full visibility all in one place. The way that the spreadsheet is set up for you guys is that you'll notice it's a 7-day chunk. And what happens is you'll get 7 days of data, and then you'll get a total, and then you'll get another 7 days of data, and then you'll get another total. And then under that second total, it'll tell you the percent change from last week. So the number one goal is to see that profit number week over week go up. However, if we take a step back and understand, the mechanics of PPC, there's a part of it that's discovery, and then there's a part of it that is performance. So there are phases in your PPC where you're going to say, okay, for the next 3 weeks, I don't care that much about profits. I want to increase my revenue, and I'm going to try and find as many keywords and targets as possible that are converting, that are profitable. The downside to that is, well, you're going to launch a bunch of campaigns. Some of them are going to work. Some of them are going to be not profitable. So you're going to lose efficiency, which is fine because it's temporary. So let's say you're spending $1,000 a week and making $3,000 a week in sales. What you're going to do is you can take that spend to $1,500 a week, or maybe $1,800 a week. And you're going to spend a lot more. You're going to launch more campaigns. You're going to identify keywords from the search term, launch them in broad phrase and exact, all of that stuff, in an attempt to discover more keywords that are profitable. And so your spend is going to go up, and then your sales are also going to go up. But there's a high chance that your spend is going to go up a little bit faster than your sales. Your profits are going to go low. So that is kind of like a bulking phase, I would like to call it, right? Where you're trying to increase your revenue through discovery. And then you move into a cutting phase where you want to lean down. You want to be as profitable as possible and as efficient as possible with your ads. So what you're going to do is identify all of these search terms that are not working, add them as negatives, any keywords, lower the bids, all of this stuff, clean all of your ads up. And so you end up in this spot where you went from 1,000 to 1,800 a week, and you're monitoring your spend. You look at your sessions, you monitor that your sessions are going up. You'll notice if your conversion rate and click-through rate stay the same, your sales are going up. And so maybe now your sales are 1,800 and 5,000. And then you're like, okay, let's cut back down. Well, out of that 1,800, half of them were bad. So you break it, you go back down to 1,400 a week in spend. And now maybe that 5,000 becomes 4,700 or 4,600. So you went from 1,000, 3,000 to to 1,400 to 4,500 in sales, something like that. And so that's the goal, and that's the mechanics. And with the spreadsheet, you're noticing week on week, my spend is going up, and my spend went up by 100%. My sessions should go up by 100%. If they didn't, then okay, I might not be as efficient. But if your spend goes up by 100% and your sessions go up by 20%, you have a major issue here. If your spend goes up by 100% and your sessions go up by 70, 60, 75, whatever, it's okay. It's just a little bit inefficient. You'll notice that your cost per session went up, and everything's fine. If you're in kind of a maintenance mode, right, where every single week it's the same amount of spend, whatever, and then you start noticing that your cost per click is going up and your cost per session is going up, then something's happening. You might be a little bit overspending on the ads, and it's a warning sign to, hey, let's cut back some stuff that's not working and try and get back to a little bit leaner. Also, if you notice that your spend is pretty consistent and your sessions drop, then you might have an organic ranking issue, right? Because all of a sudden, at the same spend and everything is the same, your sessions just dropped. Why would that happen? If your PPC spend didn't change, your organic rank fell down. Maybe you were ranked on page 1 for a really big keyword, and now you're on page 2 for some reason. Who knows, right? I don't know, but the metrics will say that. Your conversion rate will stay relatively the same, and you'll notice, wow, for the same spend, now my sales have gone down significantly. So this will help you diagnose where the issue is with your PPC, because most people are like, they go into the PPC. It's like they go to trying to fix a car. They open the hood and they start fixing stuff. And I'm like, you didn't even plug the computer in, a car computer into the car to see what the error codes or anything is. You just went in and you're trying to fix what's leaking, what's broken, trying to fix it, instead of kind of taking a step back, saying, okay, let's listen, let's hear the engine of the car, that kind of stuff. So that's the purpose of the sheet and how to use it.
Exactly. That's great insights, and I think I've been seeing a lot of people, like 7-figure sellers, using a similar kind of system where basically we keep track of on a daily basis of all the most important metrics, because that's gonna give us the signals right on time. Like every day, basically we know what's going on, if and we can act. We can proactively, fix things if we see that metrics are going off for just a few days instead of maybe, figuring that out after weeks or a month, So that's basically the best proactive way we have to keep track of our performance. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper into like what would be like the just a ballpark figures that you suggest following for us to understand if the metrics are going in the right directions, and if they're not, what could be the actions that we could take in order to get them back on track.
Okay, good question. So I talked about PPC spending sessions. So the goal is here, if your PPC spend is going up, your sessions should hypothetically go up. That ratio, like I said, is going to vary. But if your PPC spend is going up by, let's say, 100%, you should at least get 60%, 50 to 60% on the minimum growth in the sessions. If you don't, then there's an issue where you've launched these campaigns and people are clicking on them, but it's the same people, right? Because your sessions aren't going up as much. So that could be an issue. Take a look. Did you launch sponsored video, sponsored display, whatever? Or maybe scale those ads back down and try and find new and better ads that you can launch. Again, it's always a testing thing, right? So that's the first thing to look at. Now, the second thing I would look at is your conversion rate. The conversion rate, there's no right or wrong, but there is an equation. And so the equation is you have a cost per session, which is your PPC spend divided by sessions, already calculated in your like spreadsheet. There's a cost per session, and then there's the conversion rate. Conversion rate is if you take 1 divided by the conversion rate, it will give you the number of sessions required to make 1 conversion. If you compare that number, right? So cost per session times 1 over conversion rate, you compare that number to your profit per unit, you'll know how much your net profit is going to be after the ads. If it's too small, the issue is there. Now you have to diagnose, is it the cost per session? If the cost per session is too high, the ways to lower that is You can find high ACOS keywords, lower the bids. You can find keywords with clicks and no sales, lower the bids. You can find where the placement report, where you have bid by placement, like maybe 50, 60%, but the ROAS is low. You can kind of remove them. Say, we don't need to spend more if we're not converting well. You can go into the search term report, identify any keywords that are not profitable. So high ACOS in auto broaden phrase, right? Because if it's exact, then we can just lower it. But in auto broader phrase, if the keywords are high ACOS or there's high spend and no sales, add them as negatives. And so those are and then, sponsor brand display and video. If you have those running, try and take them out and see what happens. If you take them out and you notice that the spend goes down, but the sales don't go down, it could be that you were just serving the ads to the same customers, and so you're just, you're getting clicks from the same people. So it doesn't not really adding to your top line. So that's kind of, if you see that the cost per session is too high in that part of the equation. The other part of the equation is the conversion rate. So conversion rate, the main factors, you can split test the main image. You can maybe try a different title. The price is a huge one. So if you lower the price and you notice immediately your conversion rate goes up and the equation works perfectly, even if you're not profitable, right? But the equation works really well. Then you know that, okay, your customers are very price sensitive. They want this price point more than the price point that you have. And even if you feel like you're a luxury product, your customers are telling you, no, you're not a luxury product, you're a normal product, and we want you at this price. And so then you have to figure something out in your supply chain to either drop your cost of goods or, to make it happen somehow. But essentially, if you do a split test in price, you can figure out if that part of the equation is broken. Reviews obviously are going to help your conversion rate, and then everything else on the listing, your questions, videos, all of that other stuff. Click-through rate, to me, I noticed that 0.2 click-through rate is low. So whenever I work with products that have a 0.2 click-through rate, 0.2% click-through rate, it's very challenging to scale because we keep launching ads and it's really hard to spend more money. When we move up towards like a 0.5%, 0.5% is pretty healthy, and we're able to get like a good reaction. We launch ads, we get more spend, we get more sessions, and so on. As you move up 0.7, 0.8% and 1%, those are like very, very, very phenomenal numbers. And you'll see a very positive reaction to your ads. So every time you launch ads, you're going to get a lot more people clicking into the listing. And then, you can continue to scale your ads. You can, spend a lot more money, get a lot more sessions, get higher revenue, and then cut down anything that's not efficient and become, more profitable. So those are kind of the main metrics. The final thing I want to talk about is the profit. So the number one thing that matters, not ACOS, not tacos, not blah, 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 all this stuff. It's just the dollar amounts in profit. If you tell me, Mina, I'm going to come in tomorrow into your brand, I'm going to give you a 26% tacos, but you're going to make $1 million a week in profits. I'm going to say, okay, I'll take it. And then someone else comes, okay, I'll give you a 4% tacos. I say, okay, how much money are you going to make me per week? Say, I'll make you $1,000 in profit per week. I say, I don't want that. I want the $1 million. Okay, so the tacos doesn't matter. The ACOS doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters. Tacos and ACOS are like tacos is okay, the percentage of your ad spend out of your revenue. Okay, I get it. But if at 10% tacos, you're making $500 a week in profit, and at 12% tacos, you're making $800 a week in profit. That's what matters, the $800 a week in profit. Now, there's a quick disclaimer here. If you have a cash flow cycle problem and you'd rather, be on the kind of the lower side of the spending, even if it means, even if you're going to make more dollars amount in profit, that means you have to sell more units and you don't have the cash flow to keep it up. Okay, then you can kind of scale things back down. But with all things considered equal, even if the tacos is higher, it doesn't matter because you're getting more dollar amount in profit. So that should be your North Star. And also pay attention that number will go down when you're trying to scale and get more sessions and get more revenue. And that number will go up when you try and cut back down and become more lean. So you should also keep an eye out there and say, guys, the next 2 weeks, let's lose 50% of our profits in an attempt to discover new profitable keywords. You do that, and then you cut back down. And then as you cut back down, become lean. Maybe you were making $1,000 a week in profit. Now you're making $1,200 a week in profit. So now you've gotten to a new benchmark. And then you just have to, it's a balancing act. How can you lose profits to get more profit in the future, and then come back. Because at some point, obviously, if you're going to sell your business, they're going to look at your last 12 months, gross profit. So those numbers have to be good. You can't say I spent the last 6 months growing the brand, and now in the last 6 months it's been good profits. They'll say, okay, continue to perform another 6 months, and then we'll look at the numbers there. So that's essentially my answer.
Okay, well, great. That's a lot of information there about metrics. And actually that leads me to think about a topic that we always, talk about, which is, going back to the fundamentals, because you mentioned that, tacos and ACOS might not be, the main metrics that we should focus on. In the end, we want a profitable business. So that basically leads me, to think about a topic that we keep reminding here, which is, going back to the fundamentals. So, it leads me to ask you my last question, which is, what would be then your best advice to achieve more with less when it comes to Amazon PPC, if it's not, all these metrics that most people, think it's the most important?
I think the best way to achieve more with less is to have a system. And I mean, this is the seller process podcast, so it makes sense, right? But I really think that if you just write down a system, and if you go back to the other episode that I did, there is a flow chart of my system. But it doesn't matter. My stuff doesn't matter. It should be, what do you want to do? And then just have a system. Say, okay, my system is I'm going to go into PPC every single week and do this thing. Because if you have a system and if you're tracking, then you can measure what you're tracking. And then when you have that system, you can say, okay, every week I did this, and as a result, this happened. If it was good, you keep doing it. If it was bad, then that happened because of this, and you can fix it. But if you're going in your PPC and haphazardly doing things, you listen to a podcast that Mina was on, and then you go do a bunch of stuff. And then you listen to a podcast Destiny was on, and then you do a bunch of, and then you go listen to a podcast someone else was on, and then you do. It's not a way to manage. You can't, if imagine if that was your business, right? And that was your product development. And then every time someone came up with an idea you heard on a podcast, you just went and you developed the product. It's not really going to work. It's not the way a business should work. But if you have a system, just write it down. It doesn't matter what the system is. Write it down. And then follow that system and document everything. So it's simple. And this is how you can do a lot more with less. Because even if you said, okay, I'm only going to optimize bulk sheets once a week, and this is going to be my criteria, and it's going to take me 1 hour, and you spend 1 hour every single week doing it, and you're tracking the results, that, three times in a row, it's 3 hours spent. You immediately will have clarity over exactly what's happening when you're optimizing your bulk sheets. And then you just add one more thing to that system, and you're tracking, and you figure out what happened. And then you add one more thing to that system. And so that's how you can go from like a zero to a lot. And people will be like, wow, how are you doing all of this stuff? And I'm like, I didn't start by doing it all at once. I started by doing a small thing consistently, tracking it and measuring it, and then adding small pieces to it as the time went on.
Awesome. That's great advice. So basically, following one course of action until success, tweaking and just following one system and sticking with it until, we get information and we can improve upon that. So guys, remember that we will find the system, the spreadsheet that we have been talking about, that Mina is sharing with us. You will find it in the show notes. You will find the download link at thesellerprocess.com. Just find this episode, or in the YouTube description of the video. So obviously, you can use it, start implementing it by yourself. But in case you would like to reach out to Mina for help, Mina, let people know what can you do for them, and how can they reach out?
Yeah. So if you want to reach out for help, actually, for this podcast, we can accept like 2 or 3 people. If you go to the website, triviumco.com, triumco.com, there's an audit button. Click on a free audit, and I'll take some time to review all of your PPC. If you feel like you're stuck and you don't know what's wrong, I'll review everything, and I'll comment on everything: portfolios, campaign names, budgets, ad groups, placements, a number of keywords, search term reports, all of that kind of stuff, and kind of like unravel a lot of those things. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that, feel free to go to the website. I can't do a lot because it does take a long time. I can only do a few, maybe a couple, two a week or something like that. If you want to reach out to me personally, Facebook, Mina Elias, LinkedIn, Mina Elias, and then Instagram at Egyptian_prescription_Elias. So those are the three most common platforms I'm available on. Feel free to reach out. My email is mina@triviumco.com if you want to send me an email, if you prefer email, but usually things get lost in email. But I think everyone has everything now, right? You have the system and processes from episode 1 that I did with you guys. And then now you have the analytics tracking sheet. So fill out the analytics tracking sheet. It should take you maybe an hour to do for the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks of data. And then from there, look at the system and then, say, okay, I'm going to take this one piece of Mina's system, follow it, and watch the results happen. And then pick, are you trying to increase your revenue, or are you trying to become more profitable, get a better, profit margin, profit percent, tacos, whatever, all of that kind of stuff.
That's great. That's great. Thank you very much, Min, again for coming in the show. Maybe we'll see again in another future show, hopefully talking about other tips and systems about PPC. So guys, remember, the key to success is to emulate the best. So go download the spreadsheet, start taking action on what Mina just mentioned, and just take your PPC game to the next level, thanks to systems and processes that we're sharing in this podcast. Thank you for listening, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Hey, entrepreneurs, I hope you enjoyed the episode and learned something from the interview. If you're serious about creating systems for your business, automating processes, and building up your team so that you can transfer the tedious daily tasks in order to focus on more high-level strategic tasks and work on your business and not in your business, I've created a guide for Amazon sellers named Capturing Systems and Creating SOPs that you can find at thesellerprocess.com/systems ebook, where you will learn how to leverage systems and SOPs in your Amazon business so that you can accomplish more by working less, optimize your time, automate and delegate tasks, and reap the benefits of being a true business owner and not simply an operator in your own business. Go download the ebook at thesellerprocess.com/systems ebook and start implementing all the tips and insights that I share with you. And leave us a review or a comment to let us know how the content we are sharing here is making an impact in your business. And have a productive week.